I find Metroid Dread to be a deeply unusual game in the year of 2021. It both has a foot in the old and new very clearly. It is straddling that line. My play experience has been filled with huge frustrations at times, repeated deaths that felt unfair, rules not being conveyed properly, yet in a lot of ways it's a hugely competent Metroid game. We are speaking about a series older than me here, so maybe some vestigial elements hanging around, but something did stick out: the Emmys. They may end up as a perfect encapsulation of the game as a whole, so that's going to be our topic of conversation for today: the successes and failures of the Emmys. Emmi stands for Extraplanetary Multiform Mobile Identifier. Of course, a little more lore is required to properly set this up, as is true of all good games. You see, there was this X-Virus that is more parasitic than the name suggests, taking over the host bodies and controlling them. This virus, being very small, very infectious, and very bad, had the ability to quickly engulf entire planets. Side note, Samus, the player character, is actually immune to the virus due to some magical manipulation of her DNA. Something to do with the Metroids, if you must know. The salient point is that biomass attracts the X-Virus as a host. This is where the local galactic police pick up on a potential X sighting on a local planet. To try and confirm this, Emmys are sent. They are robotic after all, meaning they can withstand the X. They're not typical biomass. They serve as a futuristic Mars rover, a hands-off approach to examination. They are also monuments to fear. Odd statement, I know. Right at the beginning of Dread, a few mysteries are put into place. Who attacked Samus? Why did she lose all of her abilities again? And why do the supposedly exploratory robots want to murder me so bad? It's these scenes, these sections that I want to dissect today. Talk about what works with them and what doesn't. Let's start with the positives. I really like their design. They stand out against the typical design in Metroid. Nothing quite moves like them, nothing quite looks like them. They are too clean, too clinical, too robotic against the vast majority of other things. Apart from maybe Samus's suit. Even other machines in this world don't quite have the same style. They really are injected into a planet, brought in as something other. The multiformness again echoes Samus's ability to turn into a morph ball. They have the ability to walk upright, but are truly at the worst scurrying towards you hurriedly, echoing monsters from Silent Hill more closely than maybe they should, but without the grotesque beast, instead of looking fresh off the production line. Well, how are they in play? When you first discover an Emmi, they really do inflict dread. You're underpowered and they are untouchable. You quickly realise that they are an instant kill with one get out of jail free card. A parry that operates at a different moment each time and is very precise. They have their zones of control, areas they are king, and you must navigate. This brings in stealth elements, and as with all good stealth games, the Emmys have several layers of awareness, starting at a random patrol, tracking your noise, and then full-blown attack. Running away is tense in this last mode. You have to perform quickly and skillfully to get away. You are best off not getting spotted in the first place. Initially this is hard, you have only movement to get away, but as the game goes on, you do get the ability to turn invisible, based on an energy bar that once drained will start nibbling away at your health, creating a fun paradigm of sacrificing health to not get caught. When in this mode, you can still be bumped and taken down, but you cannot be seen or heard. Also, movement drains the bar quickly, so is best avoided, as even the process of moving out of the way can start to kill you. This creates a fun back and forth, trying to spot where you will not get spotted, or jumping over the predating Emmi. For a being that's meant to be so exploratory, they sure are predatory. Truly, it is like being in the lair of a big cat or another of nature's hunters. It creates a zone that you are not able to control well, and instead must stalk through. Even the toughest areas in Metroid games still feel like Samus is the dominant being, and this is just not true with the Emmys, at least not initially. This creates a different feeling from the game, puts you in a different place for entire sections. Metroid lore seems interested in biology, what it is to be and be changed. Samus is essentially a soup of different types of DNA at this stage in her story. During the setup of the game, the Emmi is clearly there to be a robotic counterpart to this line of thought. They are immune to the X-Virus. The only way you can actually take them down is finding a central unit, an encased mother brain type enemy that allows you to power up a super attack able to penetrate the Emmi's armour. But back away from lore, as you do gain further traversal abilities like the screw attack, moving past them becomes easier. You are in much greater control of Samus, meaning that you can proceed through their sections unmolested. So, this is how they operate for a large portion of the game. Avoidance is key until you can find the part where you can absorb the central unit's power, Often you must go through their zones multiple times unpowered before you're able to find this central unit, which when you do find, provide this fun puzzle. The beam takes a while to charge, so you must find space, meaning at times it is a process of clearing out a runway or spotting your own hunting zone. So we are talking about a section that builds up tension quite frequently. One major way to negatively cut the tension built by being hunted is actually to get caught. In a horror film there's a build-up, not knowing where your predator is, then the chase where tension is built further, sometimes over several scenes, entire films. It all works because the build-up has a moment of catharsis, whether at the end of the film or it's just someone being caught. There is a decompression of the anxiety. In games this moment happens at the point of failure for the player. You get caught and killed, the tension is cut and you repeat. You get caught and killed. You get caught and killed. At no point during the second or third encounter can the game effectively build the tension that makes the moment work. The repetition unlocks a change in play, you just have a task to complete. And commonly, this mistake is seen in horror games. Think of Soma, a game with one of the most common modifications that players make is to take out the instant death chasing monster. Now, you actually have more abilities in Metroid to interact with the monster, but not enough to allow a back and forth. Well, when is this tension used well? Look to Dark Souls, a game experience that is such common knowledge, people know that game, that you are primed going in to understand that with completion of a difficult section, you will get the reward of cut tension. But this tension isn't meant to be built each time, instead coming as you come close to a successful run. A back and forth between the player and the game is achieved. Even your failures usually allow for a lot of back and forth. Or the last hit in a fighting game, a game building up as you come close to winning and released at the end of the fight. You do get this somewhat when you beat the Emmi, but as this moment sometimes comes at a later section, after you've had to traverse through their zones multiple times, it's cut off from when tension can be built, feeling like cleanup duty instead of a long sparring match. There is a lot to like about the unusualness of the Emmis, but their problems run deep and are a part of the game that I think in the end fails for me. More options, more uses of other abilities, or just allowing a back and forth would expand on this idea and more encapsulate the potential that laid with this encounter type being designed here, which I think is emblematic to a lot of Metroid Dread. There is a lot to the core design of this game that's really likeable. It's a genre that's carried on through history and has had multiple iterations, but this particular one feels like it really has a foot in the old, or just not knowing 100% what it's doing. And the Emmys just show this. They are a good idea, badly executed. And there's a few of those here. One last quick update at the end of this. The news was coming out at the time of writing that there were workers on Dread not credited in the end credits. This is bad practice and costs the company so little that the workers can gain so much. It's abhorrent really. I do not get it. Thought it was worth mentioning. How's your play experience been with the Emmys? What are your thoughts on them? I genuinely think the problems I have may not be universal, so I'll be interested to hear what other people think. That's going to be all for today. My name has been Billy. Spread the word if you've enjoyed the video, do all the algorithm things, and thank you for watching.